Hi, I'm Peter Rose, founder of Longwood Currency Trading. Didn't I just do a video about not trading the Forex economic news releases? Didn't I just do that? In fact, it was the last video. I did. I'll leave a link to that in the show notes. I just traded the Forex economic news. Why? Let's get into that. But first, I haven't had my coffee yet today, and so that's why I'm all wound up because I traded the Forex economic news. So I'm going to do some French press. So I will show part of that. This is really silly. I don't like that last video that I just did. It was probably one of the worst videos that I've done. God. Yep, there's the French press getting ready to go. Quick flip around. Here I am. I have to do this because if I don't have any coffee in me, I'm not going to be able to explain to you why I just traded a Forex economic news release in any rational frame. All right, I got my coffee. I've had a couple sips, and I'm all set. In that last video, I said that trading the Forex economic news was bordered on gambling. And the reason for that is because I understand that my audience, those of you that are out there, are struggling with the Forex trading that you're doing. And you don't need to be taught advanced trading things. You need to be taught the fundamental structure of, first of all, the currency market and what trading is, and then the mechanics of building rules in order to trade that market. And one of the rules that I teach in my coursework and my consulting with people that trust me with their time and their money to give them education in the currency market, one of those things is don't trade the news, because there's a lag period in what's happening in the news and what's going to happen in the currency market. You know, if you're trading commodities and all of a sudden comes in that there was a major flood in a certain wheat area and all the wheat is wiped out, the price immediately goes up. It's instantaneous, even on the rumor. But that doesn't happen in the currency market. The news could come out that the interest rates are going to go up 2 basis points and 10 basis points. It's going up. It's a market change. And there'll be this big spike like that. And then everything will settle back down to where it was, because it takes time for a market that's doing $6.7 trillion a day to change direction and revamp because one of the country's interest rate just maybe doubled. It takes time. It may shift the trend at that point if you're intuitive enough and experienced enough to look at the market action and hear the news and all that stuff and know how to respond to that. But as someone who is working their way through learning this stuff, this is not something you want to concern yourself with. And so I say in my videos, don't trade the Forex economic news releases. Don't trade the fundamentals. Don't use technical analysis. Don't do this, don't do that. That's not very good for a YouTuber who has a course or whatever. So don't do this and don't do that, because it's a very negative approach to the trading. But I'm not trying to run a trading business. I don't have anything to sell. People will buy a course from me because they think I can help them. I'm not trying to sell you anything. And so I think it's imperative to me as an educator to say, don't fucking do certain stuff because it's going to be detrimental to you. Now, one of those things is trading at higher leverage than the 10-to-1 leverage that I trade at and that I teach. But there are instances where you can do that, but you have to have the experience and you have to have the foundation of knowledge and the fluidity within your rules that will allow you under certain conditions to say, wow, I'm ready to push this all the way. I'm ready to swing for the fence. And it's at those times that you swing for the fence that you automatically do a compounding. You dump all the lots impossible that you have at your stake, and you up your leverage. Well, if you were to do that without experience, you'd go to the wood on that one account. How do I know that? Because I've done that. I've been looking at the financial markets and studying them, the general financial markets, since the mid to late 1970s. I've been looking and studying the currency markets since 2007 as an academic exercise starting, and then 2012 actually putting a couple of mini accounts at risk, blowing them both out, a couple of $1,000. Let's try this. Because I'd been studying and doing simulation analysis and all that other kind of stuff. You're not worried about my story right now and blew out of that. But I've got the experience where I can look and I can see price going on and I go, oh, well, this could be an opportunity. Not it is an opportunity, but it could be. And I am unafraid of risk. I've been in martial arts for 57 years. I'm not afraid of anybody. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm particularly not afraid of myself. As Lao Tzu said, to know oneself is to know the 10,000 things. I know myself. And I understand how to learn and study. I've got a bachelor's degree in physics, almost a minor in math. I did 33-year career as a senior software engineer, 40 years in real estate investment that allowed me to retire with more than $1 million and have a good life. I've taught karate I've got students that have been with me 40 and 50 years, not that they're trying to learn how to do a punch or something, but because we all know what we're doing. And so I have that background. So maybe you can't do what I do, but that's okay, because maybe I'm gonna walk away at the end of the day doubling an account. That doesn't necessarily mean that you should try to do that. It doesn't necessarily mean that I can double an account anytime I want. It means maybe I did that. And, I'm trying to get away from saying, well, I made X amount of dollars today. I work in terms of percentages when I'm talking with you. So that if I make a 2% return on a $30,000 account trading 3 full lots, it could be 2% of 30,000. It could be 2% of 300,000. It could be 2% on a mini account, $1,000. It doesn't really make any difference, because could you duplicate 2%? Well, probably not right now. Could you get 0.5%? Could you get 0.8%? Sure, why not? Why can't we talk in terms of that? Can you do that? I could teach you how to do that. But there's steps that have to be gone through in order to build the proper foundation. You can't race a sailboat to championship level if you don't understand all about the boat and what makes it work and have certain experience. We're not trying to hide secrets from you. We're trying to build the secrets into the fundamental training that you have so that you can go, oh, I just made 2% today, or I made 10% today on my money. So when I did the video the other day saying don't trade the FOREX economic news releases, I meant that. Don't do it. So why today did I do that? It's because I made a mistake 3 days ago and let a position run way against me. It ran beyond my pain take point because I wasn't paying attention, because whatever happened and the price just jammed up, and I was not in the position because I thought it was a weak position. I was in the position because I thought it was a good position, and I was going to stand and hold firm because I have no fear. And even if it got really bad, I've had really, really bad before, and you can come back when you know what you're doing. But I let it run too far. So today is an economic news release day. It's the jobs report as far as the employment numbers go. And I thought, you know what? I know what's going to happen. There's going to be a whipsaw of activity. And I'm not going to trade it. I will trade it because I already have a position, and I will use the whipsaw of that in order to get out of my position. So I'm not betting on making any money. I'm betting on my ability to get out and lose less money. So I'm already in there. So what difference does it make if it goes 30 more pips against me? Because I know it's eventually going to settle back down and then maybe move 30 pips in that direction. My risk is minimal because it's already fucked up. And so I'm sitting there, the report comes out, the price starts moving, and it's not moving with as much vigor as I would have anticipated. I wasn't sure of which direction it would move in, but the direction that it was moving in was a direction that would help me. But it wasn't moving with much vigor. My pain point for loss is 2.5%. That's where I go, and I just get crazy. That's my planet killing in my mind. You know, I've lost 20 and 30% of my bank before. So I'm trying to be proactive here and set these panic stops at 2.5. I didn't set this one, and it went way beyond that. And so as it's coming back down, I'm going, you know, if it gets back to that panic level at 2.5, this is not really moving very fast. I mean, we're a minute after the price change, and it's just dogging its way down. So that's good. If it doesn't hit my pain point, I'll just hold to it and hope that the general direction of the market will remain consistent in that way, and I'll just wait until I work my way out of it. But in this particular instance, if I can get a 2.5% loss, I'm out. And that's in fact what happened. So did I trade the Forex economic news in terms of how I'm presenting it to you? No, I didn't trade the Forex economic news because I already had the trade on. I wouldn't normally mention it, but I think it's so important for me to convey to you what you should look at as being reasonable and logical to do as you're building the foundation of your platform. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I've done hundreds of videos. There's over 500 videos now that I've done where that's all I talk about is the care and concern necessary to take in what education you determine that you want to consume. Because if you're not successful, the only reason you're not successful is not because you're stupid or doing the wrong thing. It's because you consume the wrong education and you're following that, believing that that's going to work, and it's not working. So don't rely on that. I'm trying to provide you with information that will allow you to build the foundation necessary so that you can become consistent. And once you become consistent, the amount of money that you can make is unlimited. But if you don't have a good foundation, you won't be at that championship level. If you were to go into a swimming competition and you just were a pretty good swimmer to start and jumped in to compete for a slot in the Olympics, you're not going to get it. You could train for 5 years swimming, but never qualify for the Olympics because you didn't have an Olympic qualified coach teach you the nuances that are necessary for that. And as complex as the Forex market is, you think some dumb ass that made $1 million or $2 million is driving around a fucking Lambo with his ball cap on backwards, he's 23 years old, that he's the person that you want to entrust your money to, regardless of what he's done. He doesn't know what he's done, despite how rational he's talking about what he's done. I did real estate for 40 years. I know what I'm doing. I retired over $1 million net worth because I knew what I was doing. And when I was coming up, I only talked to the people for advice that knew what they were doing, not the dumbasses that were throwing shit against the wall. A very good friend of mine lost a ton of money in real estate, residential real estate, his own real estate, not even investment real estate. He had no fucking clue. But he had a lot of money, and he put a lot of money into the house, and he was doing all this stuff, and he thought he knew what he was doing, and he put the thing on the market. And I walked in when he had it on the market, and I went, nobody's going to want to buy this. I don't care where it's located or what, it just, nobody's going to buy this. He's a friend. I'm not going to, he never asked me for advice. Why am I going to tell him? I said, well, good luck on selling it. I said, it's kind of a slow, shitty market, which it wasn't, but I told him that. He sat with that fucker for 8 months or something like that, 9 months. He dropped the price twice and finally ended up, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars he lost. If you don't have the foundation, it doesn't matter how much information that you have. If you don't have the foundation, you're just not going to be successful. So if I try to teach you how to trade the fundamental news or build into a positions or do staging or reverse staging or compounding or leverage, you'd go crazy with it because you don't have the foundation to do responsibly with that. If you didn't know anything about a gun and I handed you a loaded gun, you'd kill somebody, if not yourself. You wouldn't be that stupid. But you are being that stupid if you're trying to trade the Forex market without the correct foundation. And you have to step back from the education that you're seeing and say, does this person, are they sharing information that sounds like it's foundational information? Or are they just showing, oh, I ran through a minefield and I got to the other side and I didn't blow my ass off, and so now I know how to teach you to run through a minefield? Is it that kind of information that they're giving you? You have to be at least intelligent enough to recognize that difference before you ever want to send me an email. Because if you say, oh, well, this is what I want to do and I'm going to do it and I'm trading with this way, or I only want to do it, I don't need your help. I'm not going to pay you for your course because I'm going to try to figure this out for myself. Really? Well, why don't you go buy a piece of real estate and figure that out for yourself then? Select a piece of investment real estate. Deal with contract negotiations and tenant law and remodeling apartments for what needs to be done for a tenant as opposed to how you do it for yourself. Why don't you go out and take $300,000 or $400,000, $500,000 and buy a piece of investment property? If you're so sure you can figure it out for yourself. Why are you fucking around in the Forex market, which is deadly? In real estate, if you know what you're doing, you can make 25% a year on your money, compounded over long periods of time. That's what I did. But if you're going to go into flipping or you're going to do this, eventually you get a planet killer to come along and you're done. Be aware that there are things that you can do, but that you shouldn't do. But you need the proper training in order to recognize that. That's what I try to provide in this channel, a reality check. So I hope you understand that now based on my little story about don't trade the Forex economic news, and yet here I am trading it. I'm trading it to get out of a problem, not to trade it on a gamble to make money. Peter Rose, Longwood Currency Trading. Have a great day and have a great trading day. And if you have the interest in what I'm talking about, send me an email and I'd be happy to discuss all this stuff with you as opposed to just a talking head on a video. Thanks a lot for your time.